Wave 3 News Nightcast is closed captioned for the deaf and hearing impaired. This is Wave 3 News Nightcast with Melanie Bullard, meteorologist John Belski, and Bob Dominy Sports.
Hurricane Emily moves in on the Outer Banks of North Carolina with winds topping 100 miles an hour. But the storm is less damaging than feared. So far, there are no reports of injuries. And at Kitty Hawk, these two houses are among the few knocked into the surf by rising tides. Good evening, I'm Melanie Bullard. So far, the news is as good as can be expected from the side of a hurricane. Emergency crews say damage from Emily isn't as severe as that caused by Hurricanes Andrew and Hugo. And more good news. Forecasters believe Emily will continue to simply skirt the North Carolina shore and then head back to sea. We want to take you live now to two members of the Wave 3 News crew who rode out the storm tonight at Nags Head, North Carolina. Paul Adrian begins our team coverage. Paul?
Melanie, the worst part of this storm has come and gone. As you can see from our vantage point here on the 7th floor of a beachside hotel, the waves are still rough, the wind's still blowing out here, but more than anything now, the weather is just annoying. Earlier today, when the hurricane hit, things looked awful. The hurricane attacked with water and wind. Emily pounded the resort town of Nags Head throughout the evening. One of the most damaging things about the hurricane is the wind. It rips everything with an unbearable fury, from trees to people to houses. It will be hours before the damage is assessed, but much in the city tonight appeared to be relatively minor. Down power lines, loose shingles. The town is empty. Most of those who stayed are hidden away in their homes, but not all. These two came out for fun. Others came out for more serious reasons.
And see that bench there? That bench is kind of like the marker. If that water comes past that, then I think we got to go.
Mike Brennan's vacation home is on the beach. His family decided to stay.
It's exciting. It's a little scary for these guys, but it's exciting.
They say the house shakes. So far, that's all.
It'll either be a vacation from hell or a very memorable one. But it's been great. Very exciting.
The hurricane made it an exciting evening for many along the North Carolina coast. Nags Head Island is the northernmost part of the Outer Banks coast, the islands along the North Carolina coast. Here, the damage we told you is relatively minor. We've been told there's scattered power outages, there's some lowland flooding, and many of the phone lines are down in the area, but for the most part, it's minor stuff. Most of the damage we've been told is south of us, about 30 miles near Cape Hatteras, where the damage is more severe. Meteorologist Craig Edwards is here also with us. Craig?
Thanks, Paul. And once again, it looks like now the winds are beginning to die down here somewhat. We've been watching as the evening progressed and actually saw the wind start to shift around. And when they started to shift, that's when we knew the storm was beginning to ease up right along beside of us and move off to sea. John Belski will have further details about that for you in just a little bit. Right now, let me show you that, once again, we have been watching quite a bit of erosion taking place on the beaches here. And this area, it's just hard to believe how much sand has moved away from the beach that we saw earlier. The areas you're looking at right there was about 4 or 5 feet higher than it is now. All that sand has been pushed out to sea, and the water continues to beat on the edge of that embankment as well. So it looks like we're going to, once again, continue to see some high water and high winds for the rest of the evening, but believe me, it's not quite as bad as it was over the past few hours, and it looks like things are improving, John.
All right, Craig, glad you're able to ride a storm out. Now you're going to have reports all day tomorrow, starting with sunrise in the morning, right?
That's right, and we understand there's been quite a bit of damage down south, so we're going to try to take a look at that for tomorrow and head down toward Cape Hatteras, where we know there was a couple of areas that were flooded out. Also, some houses around Kitty Hawk were washed into the ocean for this evening, so we're going to try to check that out as well.
All right, Craig, we'll see you tomorrow. And the highest winds did hit in the Cape Hatteras area. Show you the latest radar view here of the hurricane. Here is the storm now moving off the coast. The eye of the storm, that's the center of the storm. Now, the strongest winds are always to the right of the eye. So the strongest winds today actually stayed out over the coast. However, still enough to cause some damage along the Cape Hatteras area as the edge of the eye just moved right along that portion of the Outer Banks. Now, the good news is tonight is that the storm is lifting outward. Hurricane-force wind gusts still occurring north of Nags Head up to Virginia Beach at this point, but the storm is now beginning to move out into the open waters. The current position of the hurricane has Emily with 115-mile-per-hour winds, 90 miles southeast of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Now, as far as the forecast track of Emily for later tonight into tomorrow, here is the good news there. The storm right now off the coast of Cape Hatteras and will be pushing toward the northeast during the day tomorrow and move out in the open waters. And other than some beach erosion all the way up through southern New England, that is going to be the main problem with the storm from here on out. Melanie?
Is there any guarantee that the storm will continue in that direction, or could it move back in toward land, John?
Well, nothing's 100% sure, but checking the latest wind flows, the steering winds in the upper atmosphere, the storm is going to get locked up. It's been in a light wind pattern here, going to get locked up in a stronger wind pattern again carried out. Not a 100% chance, but forecasters are pretty confident with this here.
All right. Thank you, John. Well, Emily is rated as a Category 3 hurricane. That's one level down from Andrew and Hugo, which were Category 4s. But she is extremely dangerous. We want you to listen now to this reporter who was watching the storm on Cape Hatteras, where the worst damage occurred earlier tonight.
The roof in the hallway of the hotel, no more than a foot from where I'm standing, is giving way. It's literally flying past me. Visibility is so poor right now because the winds are just whipping the rain. It's very hard to see. On the roads that I can see, Highway 12 and a side road, which is about a quarter mile from the ocean, it looks to be that there's the beginning stages of flooding.
The historic Hatteras Lighthouse clocked wind gusts of more than 132 miles an hour, and this is what the single road along North Carolina's Outer Banks looked like as Emily approached the shore, a white out of blowing sand and rain. Power is off on several of the Outer Bank islands, but we are told that is to prevent flying debris from knocking down live power lines. 250,000 people evacuated early from the storm's path, but another 20,000, mostly residents, remained in spite of warnings that they may have to go without power and water for days. We're told phones stayed in service in most areas during the storm, but long-distance lines are jammed. 4 Red Cross workers from the Louisville area are in the Carolinas tonight, ready to help victims of Hurricane Emily. The workers are on standby and will be dispatched wherever they're needed tomorrow to help feed, counsel, and assess damages to storm victims. Hurricane Emily has canceled more than beach vacations. Amtrak today canceled its northbound trains until further notice. Passengers hoping to take Amtrak from Miami to New York learned the route was closed by reading a sign posted near the ticket window. Southbound trains are also being suspended in Richmond, Virginia.